Start the recording now. So go ahead, Zoe, and thanks everybody for being here.
Great. Thanks so much, Colleen. Really great to have you folks here. Like Colleen said, my name is Zoe Kaminsky. I'm a graduate research assistant at the University of Wisconsin-Stevens Point, and I've been working with the Wisconsin Forestry Center to develop a forestry professional development needs assessment survey. So today I'll be talking to you about the results from this study. Before we get started, I'd like to take just a few moments to recognize those who have provided their support for this project, including cooperating professional organizations such as the Forest Stewards Guild, as well as the USDA McIntyre Stennis program for funding this research. Industry leaders and researchers agree that a well-trained workforce is an asset to employers seeking innovation, efficiency, and excellence. Foresters are increasingly managing the effects of climate change, high-severity wildfires, and increased spread of pests and diseases, just to name a few. Now, these problems necessitate not only a highly skilled workforce capable of solving them, but also robust continuing education opportunities to support the continued growth of that workforce. A 2021 report from the Bureau of Labor Statistics showed that Wisconsin is among the top 3 states with the highest employment levels in forestry, but the state has yet to see a comprehensive cross-disciplinary needs assessment study of forestry professional development. So how do we know if the discipline is providing the right kind of training to meet workforce development needs? Well, the Wisconsin Forestry Center, or WFC, has been asking that very question. The WFC was founded in 2020 to provide partner-driven workforce development solutions to the forestry community, including workshops, field tours, certification programs, and podcast episodes. With a desire to continue informing the development of and develop more valuable, relevant, and accessible training opportunities to foresters, the WFC brought me on to identify current skill gaps and training preferences of foresters in Wisconsin, to determine what motivates people to pursue training, and lastly, to understand the barriers that prevent training engagement. I designed a mixed methods, non-experimental needs assessment survey in Qualtrics, and I used purposive sampling to reach my target audience. Now, purposive sampling is a non-probability sampling technique that's commonly used in qualitative research to access demographics or populations with specific attributes that are relevant to the study. So in this study, the attributes were current working Wisconsin-based professionals in forestry who were likely to have engaged in professional development at some point throughout careers. We received recruitment assistance from various professional trade organizations to reach that audience. And these organizations included the Great Lakes Timber Professionals Association, Lake States Lumber Association, Wisconsin Arborist Association, Wisconsin Society of American Foresters, Forest Stewards Guild, the Wisconsin DNR, and Wisconsin County Forest Association. And on the screen, you'll see an example of one of those recruitment emails that went out. Additionally, I reached out to tribal foresters representing each of the Wisconsin-based tribes, and those who were successfully reached and expressed a willingness to participate in the survey were sent links to the survey when it officially went live. So the survey consisted of a series of open and closed-ended questions, including Likert scale or ranking questions, multiple choice, yes, no, and demographic questions. In total, there were 39 questions, but not all of these questions were displayed for every participant. I'll explain that a little bit here. So display and skip logic were applied to certain survey questions, to tailor the survey taking experience based on whether a respondent was in an urban forestry profession or forest management profession. And then finally, I integrated feedback that I received from a pilot test prior to launching the survey. So a big component of this study was assessing educational need or skill gaps of the industry in Wisconsin. So I'll explain a little bit how I did this in my survey. The Borich Needs Assessment Model was initially created in 1980 to identify teacher training needs. Bratkovich and Miller were some of the first researchers to apply this model to forestry training needs in their needs assessment study of Ohio sawmill. So this model takes an individual's perceived importance of a given topic area and their knowledge in that topic area to better understand the educational need in that topic. So like I said, I did this in my survey by presenting respondents with a series of training topics in either urban forestry or forest management, as well as social competencies. And I asked them to rank on a 5-point scale their perceived importance of each topic, their knowledge in each topic, and their desire for additional training in each topic area. I took the difference between the mean importance and mean knowledge rankings to generate a skill gap index. So topic areas with a higher skill gap index indicate a stronger educational need or skill gap in that topic. The next big piece of this puzzle here was to understand what motivates people to pursue training. So I used concepts from expectancy value theory to identify this. Expectancy value theory, or EVT, is a theory of motivation that tells us that there's a connection between the expectancy of a given outcome and the perceived value of that outcome. And together, they predict motivation for behavior. So to do this in my study, I presented respondents with a series of training outcomes, and I asked them to rank on a 5-point scale their expectancy of achieving each outcome and their perceived value of each outcome. So I multiplied the mean expectancy and mean value rankings to generate a training motivation composite score. Training outcomes with a higher training motivation composite score may indicate stronger motivators, pushing people to pursue training. And of course, I performed descriptive statistics on quantitative data, and I performed thematic coding and relationship mapping on qualitative data using a qualitative data processing software called NVivo. So to create a relationship map, I took open-ended responses like the ones you see on the screen here. And I pared them down, or I identified themes within those open-ended responses. And then from there, I pared down those themes to identify a thematic code. So on the screen, you'll see an example of a relationship map that housed individuals' desired business-related training topics. Now, as with any research, there were limitations to my approach. While this study may be relevant to other regions in the US, the study cannot claim generalizability beyond the study population. And this is due to a variety of reasons, including regional differences in practices and species, differences in workforce demographics, etc. While paper surveys are typically shown to produce higher response rates, online surveys can mitigate data processing errors and save on research administration costs and time. But ultimately, our decision to use an online survey was because we couldn't collect membership contact information from most of the participating professional organizations we worked with to distribute this survey. Instead, they required that they send out the survey links on our behalf. And then finally, secondary manufacturing professionals were not surveyed for this study, nor will the results of this study be relevant to them. And that's because these disciplines' distinctly different training needs were beyond the breadth of what this study sought to accomplish. The survey received 364 responses, and responses were removed if they did not affirm the informed consent, if they were not working in the state of Wisconsin, or if they completed less than 30% of the survey. So after this data cleaning process, 285 responses were made. Of those, 83% have at least a bachelor's degree. The median time in profession was 17 years, and the median respondent age was 44. We received responses from 7 different forestry employment areas, but the largest of which was forest management, followed by urban forestry. And we received responses from across the entire state of Wisconsin, but the largest proportion of respondents work in north central Wisconsin. So to start to get a baseline understanding of some of the trainings that are already on the market and trainings that a lot of people frequent, we asked respondents to provide up to 5 trainings they had completed within a 12-month period prior to starting this survey. So 78 respondents referenced trainings related to wildland fire, including wildland fire leadership and prescribed fire. 77 respondents referenced topics related to management of forests, including writing management plans and managing for white. And finally, 60 respondents referenced trainings related to timber or logging, including best management practices and public lands timber sale. So in the next couple of slides, I'll be discussing results related to the research objective of identifying skill gaps. So the biggest skill gaps or educational needs for urban forestry respondents were tree health, GIS, and tree risk assessment. The top educational needs for forest management respondents were GIS, forest health, and NEPA and environmental law. The top social competency skill gaps were conflict resolution, economics, finance, and taxes, and partnerships, collaboration, and stakeholder engagement. Respondents were provided an opportunity to share in an open-ended response if they had additional training needs that were not provided to them. So 31 respondents referenced training topics related to forest management, including how to manage more passively managed species like hemlock. 26 respondents referenced business-related training topics, including how to price competitively for insect and disease control. And then 22 respondents referenced topics related to working effectively, including how to communicate effectively and efficiently with different cultural groups. Next, I'll be discussing results related to the research objective of identifying training preferences. So respondents like to have training sites no greater than 150 miles away from them. They prefer more in-person field-based trainings, and they would like to receive between 1 to 2 months advance notice of training opportunities prior to their start date. Across the board, folks were more likely to pursue a training opportunity that would award them certification or continuing education credits. And those with some college but no degree or an associate's or technical degree were most likely to pursue trainings that would award them a certification or credits towards maintaining. So next I'll be discussing results related to the research objective of identifying training motivation. So your more intrinsic values like learning new skills and personal growth were more motivating than the utilitarian type values, those monetary driven values like receiving a job promotion or a salary increase. And then finally, I'll be discussing results related to the research objective of understanding what barriers prevent training engagement. So the most preclusive factors that prevent training engagement for respondents were workload and job responsibilities, being unaware of training opportunities, and inconvenient training location. Respondents indicated that they would actually participate in more training if there was a statewide forestry professional development calendar available to them. Now, while these were not as common, social barriers still existed in the data. In an open-ended response, one individual shared that stealth bigotry and inclusion issues are embedded within the industry. So how can we make training environments more inclusive? Well, respondents who indicated that a non-inclusive training environment has prevented them from taking training in the past shared how they feel training organizers can improve. And these are just a few examples of those responses. So the study revealed that while there were certainly some similarities, the ranking order of training topics by training need was not identical to that of training desire. For example, NEPA and environmental law was a big skill gap, but it was also an undesirable training topic. More research is needed to determine whether people pursue trainings in topics they're already comfortable with and enjoy, rather than topics that they should know more about but just don't interest them. Additionally, training organizers might consider how they can better address workforce needs while also appealing to the personal interests of those taking their trainings. And I'll leave you with one last key takeaway from my research. Workload and job responsibilities have prevented 8 in 10 professionals or respondents from pursuing training in the past. 8 in 10. So if employers want to continue in attracting highly skilled and trained professionals to their organizations, they might consider how they can better have the flexibility to incorporate professional development opportunities and time in their employees' plans of work. Additionally, training providers might also consider how they can better demonstrate the value and salience of their training opportunities to get that buy-in from employers, to show them that there's value in taking training and being active in professional development opportunities. And this might look like clearly defining learning goals or showing predictable financial or operational results. And as I wrap things up here, and I appreciate your time and attention tonight, I will mention that we'll be sharing results with the Forest Stewards Guild as well as other professional trade organizations so that they have the opportunity to apply these findings if they're relevant to them to produce more valuable and accessible training opportunities to the forestry community. Understanding the training needs and preferences of folks can improve the content and delivery of trainings that are on the market. And in knowing what motivates and prevents training engagement, training providers may be able to increase their participation rates and improve the accessibility of their programming. Relevant, accessible, and valuable professional development opportunities are a value added to the forestry discipline, benefiting professionals, employers, and the land. And with that, I'd like to, again, thank you for your time and attention today. I'm going to stop sharing and open the floor to questions if there are.
Just a quick question about, you mentioned arboriculture and urban forestry, but didn't really go into any depth on that. And I'm way across the country in New Mexico, and arboriculture is a somewhat overlooked skill set out here. Is that the situation in Wisconsin as well?
I think Well, I'll start with the caveat that that was a little beyond the breadth of this study focus, but just based on the respondent number, the count of respondents who work in arboriculture, it was significantly less than some of those other forestry employment areas. So I don't know if that's any indication. Certainly, there's a demand for that work everywhere, but whether or not that might be more a conversation of recruitment and retention of folks into the arboriculture discipline.
Sounds good. Thank you.
And in terms of agencies and organizations that offer trainings, just that our own attrition and turnover rate has been so high that we have to really focus on internal, training opportunities and can't go beyond our own agency. So have you found that places that offer training outside of academia are struggling with opportunities to reach out, beyond the scope of their own employees?
Sure. I think that's an interesting question, and it certainly depends on the sector you're in. I think I saw a lot of folks in state agencies who responded to the survey, and many of whom do their professional development and training internally. And so, again, I think it depends on the sector and the folks that you're targeting for your professional development programming and what their needs are. So it really just depends on the demographics you're trying to reach.
No, that definitely makes sense. And thank you so much for this presentation tonight. It was definitely interesting.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing.
Would you like to share any more information or repeat anything about where people can find more on this research and how you'll be sharing it? And then we can probably close for the evening.
Absolutely. So like I mentioned, I'll be sharing an executive report of this study to various professional organizations that assisted with this research, including the Forest Stewards Guild. So I'll allow, of course, Colleen to distribute that to whoever is interested. And then the Wisconsin Forestry Center will be putting together a web page that features the results from this study. So we'll be distributing that as well. You can check us out at the WFC website and stay tuned there. We've got a mailing list you can sign up for, and we'll send a blast out once that's up and live.
Thanks, Zoe, for sharing this, and all of you for being here. Join us for some other upcoming webinars and perhaps the Lake States Guild Gathering if you're in the Wisconsin area. And good to see you all. Have a lovely evening.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.